a familiar hell rather than an unfamiliar heaven. Like you prefer something that is so bad for you, even though it's familiar. You prefer that than something that is actually good for you because it's unfamiliar. You really have to be okay looking stupid, because I think a lot of people stop themselves from doing things because they're like, oh, that doesn't go with my image, or that because I'm new at it, I'm going to be bad at it, and people don't want to look new.
The crowd is the gathering place of the weak.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much like anyone who gets to sit on the side, they get to be cynical and they sometimes get to be right, but the people in the arena, eventually they get to win, right? And they actually get to play.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I think it's like being in the arena, it's like the worst day in the arena is still better than the best day in the crowd.
I'm Radhi Devlukia, and on my podcast, A Really Good Cry, we embrace the real, the messy, and the beautiful, providing a space for raw, unfiltered conversations that celebrate vulnerability and allow you to tune in to learn, connect, and find comfort together. Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of A Really Good Cry. Today, I am sharing an episode that I actually recorded for my friend's podcast, but it was such a great conversation that I wanted to share it here with you all. Milan has been on this journey of self-mastery for over 10 years now, and he has created a community called the Untethered Self-Mastery Club. It is filled with seekers on a mission to defeat procrastination, eliminate self-sabotaging habits, improving their focus, discipline, building routines, and transforming their life, all through self-mastery systems and frameworks. On and off camera, we would always have such thoughtful conversations, and I really hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did.
Okay, welcome back. We are in the kitchen right now, and I'm joined by a good friend of mine, and she doesn't know it, but a mentor from a distance.
Stop.
Radhi is a certified nutritionist, student of Ayurveda, of yoga, of scripture, Amazon bestseller, New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
And overall, like a modern day yogi, I would say. Anything I missed?
No, you got way too much in there.
So obviously, when we first met, I just want to say quickly, because you were actually handwriting the recipes for the book that has come out, right? Which is insane. And to see it come into something that is physical form is literally an act of alchemy. So I just want to say congratulations again.
Thank you.
And
you were a little taster for it.
I did. I was a taste test for a lot of the recipes.
So if any of the recipes don't taste good,
you
can blame it.
So it only made sense to me, if we were going to do this, to make something from the book, to create an environment, energy, to have a good conversation, but also, test the recipes out. So
let's do it.
What are we making today?
Okay, so today Milan has chosen the recipe that we're making, and we're making sticky hoyen udon noodles. So it has like the most beautiful colored vegetables in there. It's got a great balance of like sweet, savory, umami, spicy, sweet, a bit sour. And for me, I just love one pot meal. So this was one where you can get home within 30 minutes, have a really delicious and nutritious meal, put onto your plate really fast.
And a little vegan smoothie, right?
Yeah. In the book, I have 4 different smoothies specifically for getting in vegan nutrients that people think are usually lacking when they turn vegan. And so this one is the calcium smoothie. It's got kiwi, avocado, some fig. All of them are really rich in calcium. So we're going to boost our bones.
Sweet. I was vegan for a while, but then I've been vegetarian my whole life. But I do want to expel the myth as well of like you can't get enough protein as a vegan or vegetarian. I don't really think that's true.
I don't believe it at all. Honestly, I can say I get my blood work done regularly just to make sure everything's in check, and not to jinx myself or anything, but I'm pretty healthy. So nothing seems to be missing in my diet.
Perfect. Yeah, same as me. All right, let's get into it. What's
do
first?
It. Okay, so I'm just going to put you to work, yeah?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Okay, I'll chop, you chat, yeah?
All right.
Okay.
In your book, you talked about when you had your sort of awakening, per se. By the way, this is how we make the recipes at home. I say that I make it, but I'm actually just watching my mom make it. Yeah, you said you had your awakening when you realized what you eat, what you think, and the habits that you sort of make for yourself.
Yeah.
Pretty much transforms every other area of your life. So what was the process of kind of refining those inputs for yourself? Because I believe that as well. Inputs become outputs, right?
Yeah. Refining them, I think I really had to sit down and think, what are the things that are actually taking me towards my goal or my desire, to whether it was spiritual, whether it was professional, whether it was emotional. Out of everything I'm doing, what ones are go into each category. So does this bring me towards what I want, away from what I want, or does it keep me stagnant? And so when I started creating those lists, I kind of realized that majority of the things that I said I wanted to do was not in alignment with the actions that I was taking.
Right.
Or the words that I was saying, or the places I was going to, the environments, the energetic environments that I was putting myself into. None of that there was maybe a few things that were in alignment, but most of those things were actually taking me further away from it.
Right.
And you kind of have to think of it in different ways as well. Like there's the physical aspect of how does my physical body feel in it? Does it feel drained? Does it feel energized? Does it feel awakened? And then there's also the emotional and energetic part where you can go in an environment and you can probably be physically really active. Like let's say you go into a club, but energetically you leave and you're probably really drained and it's taking you down to a different frequency. And so you kind of can't just do it as oh yeah, I feel good doing this and bad doing this. It's like, okay, no, take it another level and break it down into those categories. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. I think that's kind of, very similar to the way I started refining mine. And how did you identify the North Stars though, the goals that you wanted to work towards?
Experimenting.
Yeah.
I feel like so much of the things that we do, it's like someone can tell you this is going to make you feel so amazing and you can believe them because you've seen them do it. But actually, until you experience it for yourself, it's so difficult to, one, get the taste for it, the desire to actually do it. It's like if you think about working out.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you can have everyone on Instagram telling you, when you do this workout, it's going to make you feel amazing. Do it every single day and you're going to feel the best version of yourself. But only when you do it, and not even do it once, when you do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, do you get this desire to continue it because you felt the benefit of it.
Right.
And so I think you have to try everything out. You can't just do it once. You have to do it more than that. It's like going on a date. You can't tell if you like someone straight away when you go on a date with them. So when you do things multiple times, it allows your body to realize, because your initial reaction to a lot of things could be negative, even if they're positive for you, because your comfort is used to the negative behaviors.
Right, yeah.
So I've had so many friends who, let's say they drink a lot of alcohol. And every time I've been like, okay, why don't you, instead of drinking alcohol with your friends, get into conversation, go out and play like tennis together, do an activity together. For them, that is so uncomfortable, even though it's better for their mind and their body.
Right.
It is such an uncomfortable place to be that your mind will tell you this is actually not what you want to be doing. And so you have to create the new neural pathways that creates an association that is so much better than by doing it over and over again than that initial reaction of, oh no, I'd rather just sit there and drink with my friends because that's comfortable for me.
Yeah. And it's that saying, right? It's the good things feel good after, but feel bad in the moment.
Yeah.
The bad things feel good in the moment, but bad after.
Bad after. Or what's it? A familiar hell rather than an unfamiliar heaven. Like you prefer something that is so bad for you, even though it's familiar.
Yeah.
You prefer that than something that is actually good for you because it's unfamiliar.
And you touched on there how we're 3-part beings, right? It's funny, Alice, you just wrote about this, how it's mind, body, spirit, but we often neglect one or more areas.
Yeah.
And that's when you kind of fall out of alignment. But for your mind specifically, what are some of the practices or rituals that you do to kind of bring yourself into alignment?
What are some of the rituals I do to keep my mind, body in alignment? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, for your mind.
Okay, one thing I think is non-negotiable is something you're learning every single day. And whether that is in the kitchen, whether that's something you're reading, whether that's something you're listening to, whether it's 15 minutes of your day, we all want to absorb information. I think a lot of the time we feel a lack of alignment or even purpose, because if you feel like you're constantly outputting, which a lot of us do, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally, whether it's at work or at home, if you don't feel like you are fueling yourself and you don't feel intellectually stimulated, emotionally stimulated, and physically stimulated, I personally, for myself, I feel out of whack straight away.
Yeah.
And so I think learning something every single day that's not linked to a result is actually a huge, read an article. It doesn't have to be something you're going to share, or read a book. It doesn't have to be something you're going to tell somebody else, but fueling yourself in some way is a way you're telling your mind and your body, just like with food, you fuel your body with food and it tells your body you love it, depending on what you eat. Yeah. In the same way, when you are reading, learning, you're telling your mind that you are feeding it and that you love your mind and that you care about it and you're thinking about how it thrives and how it achieves something. And so I think learning is a big part of it.
Why did you say not linked to a goal?
Just because, I feel like so many things that I loved and enjoyed throughout my life became work. So like cooking used to be something that I loved, and then when I started writing the book, I actually fell out of love with cooking for like months after.
Wow.
And I think every single thing that we do, even working out, it's like you go for a workout, you post about it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes something that you're doing for other people rather than something you're doing for yourself. So try and do things without documenting it, or if you're documenting it in a journal, let it be just for yourself.
Yeah.
Then you know you're doing it truly for yourself and not for anybody else, because doing things for other people doesn't bring the same amount of satisfaction.
Right. Yeah, Rick Rubin talks about that a lot as well. Have you read his book, Creative X?
I haven't read his book, but I've seen some of his like podcasts and stuff. I really like him. The way of thinking is, please.
I think you really like it. So he says that you don't have to monetize your passion, because a lot of the times when you do it, then like you said, it becomes work. So yeah, it really depends on what you want out of, like, do you want to do the activity just for the sake of the joy it brings you?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do it to actually create a career out of it?
Or balance the two. Like, I still cook every single night for myself.
Yeah.
I don't document when I cook every single night. But I think there's a balance of, I know when I'm in the kitchen and I'm working versus when I'm in the kitchen and I have all the time in the world to experiment and play in the kitchen versus having it to be, like, there's so much more pressure when I'm filming for there to be a product that works out at the end of it. But if a dish that I'm making at night for myself doesn't look appealing,
who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, on the subject of play, I actually talk about this a lot, right? Where you can find your edge in life when you find what feels like play to you but works to others. I mean, I didn't come up with that. It came out from Naval. And
I like that.
yeah, so I did that through a lot of, like you said, experimentation, repetition, and iteration as well. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Like, actually using the feedback that you're getting. How did you kind of do that? And how do you think other people should do it?
Well, the first thing I would say is you really have to be okay looking stupid. Because I think a lot of people stop themselves from doing things because they're like, oh, that doesn't go with my image, or that because I'm new at it, I'm going to be bad at it, and people don't want to look new.
Check out some mushrooms.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, of course you can. Basically, what you've done is you call me here to cook for you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
While we have a conversation. You're like an Indian auntie. You know, every time aunties come to my house and they're like, why do you have these big knives?
Yeah.
Because they're so used to
My
these
mom
little
uses
ones.
these little ones.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people feel like, a lot of people don't want to look like a beginner. And I think that is the problem, where you don't want to look like someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
Especially if you're used to being good at something else. When you go into new territory, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to look stupid, or I'm going to look like I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm used to looking like I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And so you have to be okay with going into an environment where you may be the bottom of the class and you may not be used to that because you're top of a class in something else. But you have to be willing to look stupid, and you have to be willing to be honest about not knowing what you're doing and starting something from scratch. And I think that's a really important, I guess that kind of links to humility and lack of ego. Like, if you have too much ego where you don't want to look like a beginner, that's going to actually stop you from so much in your life, including this.
Yeah, I completely agree, because I'm exactly the same. I hate looking like a newbie at something because I'm naturally competitive, right? So like everything I do, even this right now, I feel like I look like a newbie. But like, if it's a new sport,
you're doing all right, actually,
or it's a new, whatever it is I'm trying.
Yeah.
I want to be the best at it, right? Yeah.
But I just think that I've definitely been in that position before. You know, even when I started, I would say the thing that I'm the most uncomfortable in that I do at the moment is being like a female entrepreneur.
Right.
It's just, and what I mean by that is like in a business way. I really struggled with that narrative. Every time I'll be asked to go on panels to talk about the business side of my life, I would be like, they picked the wrong person. Like, I really shouldn't be up there. I really struggle with that because I'm not the typical like CEO. I'm not someone who knows about business and finances in that way. But what I realized was, if I didn't try it, I'm never going to get better at it. And so, I'm going to be probably the worst in the room, and I probably have the least amount of experience. But then you have to think, I guess I always go back to like, do I want to learn, or do I want to stunt my growth? And I'm actually stunting my own growth by choosing to do that. Yeah,
I think a lot about this as well. Like it's the arena, right? Everyone who's in the audience, I think, who said it? I think it was Krishnamurti or something. He said that the crowd is the gathering place of the weak.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much like anyone who gets to sit on the side, they get to be cynical and they sometimes get to be right. But the people in the arena, eventually they get to win, right? And they actually get to play.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I think it's like being in the arena. It's like the worst day in the arena is still better than the best day in the crowd.
I also think that's where judgment comes from. I was actually just reading, I don't know, these were the New York Times article thing that just came out. It was about judgment.
Right.
And it was saying how actually, if you have done the process, you will never judge someone else on the path.
Facts,
because you understand what it takes. But as soon as you're on the outside and you're watching in, it is so easy to judge and criticize someone because you're in your mind, you're like, I could have done it better.
Yeah.
But you haven't even tried. But in your mind, you are telling yourself, because it masks other emotions and it also masks insecurity, it's easier to judge and criticize someone having never done what they've done, because it makes you feel better about yourself. But if you've been in it, I know, like when you told me how you're editing and like doing everything for your content, I've done it, so I know how difficult it is. So I can truly appreciate your craft.
Right.
But if you haven't been in it, then it's so much easier to just stand on the outside and be like, oh, if I wanted to, I could.
Yeah.
And then make yourself feel good about yourself.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If they wanted to, they actually could. But they just don't want to go through that barrier of looking stupid, looking dumb. You know?
And sometimes you might not be able to. I think that's the other thing that you also have to learn in this whole thing is sometimes you can try something. I tried public speaking. I kept getting asked to go on stages and speak at events. And I honestly, it was something I had zero desire to do. I absolutely just don't like standing in front of a big crowd. I find it really difficult. I love engaging with people one-on-one in like a workshop setting, but standing on stage with like 500 people or whatever in front of me, I really struggle with.
Right.
Last year, I decided that I was just going to say yes and try it out. I did like 3 or 4 speaking engagements. I did it. I worked really hard for like a month trying to perfect it. I got on that stage. I did it. I got off the stage and I didn't enjoy it. And I did that. And I thought, okay, let me do it a few times. I did it 3 times. And I was like, actually, I'm not the best at this. I'm actually not that great at it. And so I think it's also okay to realize that even if you have put in a lot of effort into something, there is a possibility that you may not be good at it.
That's true.
It's also okay. Because then you'll find something else that you're good at.
And you wouldn't have known until you tried, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
I would have always wondered.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend about this recently, actually, like how to find your purpose, let's say. It's a process of like uncovering rather than discovering. So like every phase that you go through, like for example, I've had like 10 businesses in the past, and every single one was like actually useful for me right now. Yeah. Like the skills you wouldn't think about are serving me now. Yeah. So it's like a great uncovering.
It all compounds, is that the word? Yeah, it all comes together. Like there are so many skills that I never thought I would use being a nutritionist and dietitian now. Like some of the stuff that I learned, I was like, this was so unnecessary. And then randomly there'll be one conversation where someone's asking me something and I was like, I literally learned that when I was doing this and I had no idea that it would come in handy. So I think every experience there is something to learn if you choose to have the eyes to receive it in that way. But you have to decide that that's how you want to see life. Otherwise, everything can feel like a waste of time.
Right. Choose to see. Wait, what did you say? Choose to have the eyes to see.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. That's powerful. I'm going to clip that. I'm curious about how you think about pain, right? Obviously, pain. Do you think it's a precursor for joy? Like, do you think it's necessary? Because if you look at like every great artist, every great poet, every great athlete even, they had a process of like transmuting that pain into progress.
Yeah. You know, I've had so many different versions of this or like perspectives on this. I remember sitting at a table actually randomly with Trevor Noah, and he truly was saying how much he does not believe that you should have to have pain to feel goodness in your life. Like he doesn't think that duality is necessary. And so I've really been thinking about it because he's the first person that I've ever heard say that he doesn't think that that's necessary, because you always hear like, turn your pain into success, turn your pain into joy. I personally think that, and I think there's one part to it is we'll never know, because we've all had pain. And I do think that sometimes you need every single thing in life. There is a duality. There's not one thing that isn't. Whether it's like every single opulence that exists in the world, whether it's fame, money, beauty, there is always the opposite effect to it too. So you can have success, but you can still be upset. Like there is nothing that exists that doesn't have a negative, or what we see as a negative reaction to it. And I honestly think I personally think that's how the world works. It's like you would not know joy if you haven't felt pain. Right. And I do think that that's true. I don't necessarily think everybody has to have gone through the most traumatic experience to get to a place where they have a voice. I think these days sometimes that's the case where you think, I remember going on a panel and all these people had had so much that had happened to them, whether it was in their childhood or throughout their life. And I was sitting there and I was like, I can't just make up that I've been through really traumatic times.
Yeah.
But there are also lots of people who haven't been through extreme times. And so you can relate to those people. I don't have to be someone who's gone through, I had quite a nice childhood upbringing. Like my parents were wonderful.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I still can't connect to people on a level of pain because I can have empathy for them. And so I do think that there's a level of appreciation that comes, unfortunately, only once you've been through something bad.
Yeah.
Because that's how our human minds are wired. If we were all wired from a young age to just feel gratitude, then we wouldn't even think of pain as being pain. We think of it as, this is just part of the journey. Yeah. This is like something that's necessary to take me to another place. But none of us really feel like that all the time. And so unfortunately, I think the human mind is created in a way that, maybe you do need to realize what's negative to appreciate what's positive.
Right. Yeah, I think the same way. I think that everything exists on kind of like a pendulum, right?
Yeah.
It swings back and forth. But then don't you think then it's also down to your capacity and your like level of consciousness to kind of determine whether an event is good or bad? And it's, because most events, if you think about it, are kind of neutral.
I do think it's that, but I also, the deeper I've gotten into my spiritual practices, or the more I listen to people who have been in a spiritual practice for far longer than I have, I really just think it's a rewiring of your brain of, it's not whether it's good or bad, it's seeing it as, I surrender to whatever it is. And so it's not that this is good and this is bad for me. It's that whatever is meant for me, I surrender to. I will try my best in any way possible to create a specific outcome.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, good or bad, like who knows? Have you heard that story? The good or bad, who knows?
Yeah.
And
Mexican,
the farmer.
Right?
Yeah,
Chinese
and
farmer.
I remember that story every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? Or this is so horrible. How is this happening? Like, even my grandma being unwell right now. I was like, how is this happening? Like, this shouldn't be happening. That's the first thoughts that come to your mind. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I get to spend all this time with her that I would have never been able to spend with her because I'm prioritizing being around her. So yes, the first thought is, this is a bad thing. If I tell someone my grandma's got cancer, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's awful. And yeah, that's how I felt at the beginning. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, how great is the world and how great is God that I get notice and that I get time to actually spend with that person. And so I think it's the idea of surrender, because I think most of us like to control our outcomes and saying good or bad, I don't know, but I know the world and the universe and God is going to do what's best for me. But also realizing that from bad can come good and from good can come bad.
I was literally about to say that. So like it's like a paradox, right? Every positive experience that you chase kind of turns into a negative one because you're reminded of the things that you don't have.
Exactly.
But then every negative experience turns into a positive one eventually. Like they both plant seeds. So it's that like...
And I think that's a choice. Like you think about something negative happens, one person could turn to addiction and another person could turn to growth. How does that choice get made?
Yeah, I saw something recently that said like the best indicator to tell you that you're on this path of growth and your like consciousness is rising is that you understand it's all a choice. Like every single thing is a choice.
And that's something you have to really exercise, isn't it? I think about even if I've got jealous or envious of someone, or if the first thing that comes into my mind is a negative thought, how do you change that? Well, it's either you let that thought be, or you try and follow up with a correcting thought. And so is that, okay, if I came in here and I was like, oh, not that I thought this is saying, but like Milan did this. Oh my God, he's so rude. It's me correcting with like, okay, how can I make this thought more empathetic? Or maybe he did this because this, and this.
Right.
So I think there is the ability to rewire, maybe not for the initial thought, but definitely for the secondary thought.
I call that like, I have a process around that called like multidimensional thinking. So you don't think about it in one level. You try and think about the second and third order consequences of like that thought and whatever else can stem from it, right?
Yeah.
How has your definition of nourishment changed like throughout the years? And that can be like spiritual nourishment. It could be actual like physical nourishment.
I used to link nourishment a lot to, when you think nourishment, I used to think of it as just being physical body related. But I realized how much each of them are so intertwined. And so I've noticed for me, even when this is kind of done, by the way.
Oh, all right.
So, let me just put this over. Let's make this smoothie. Yeah.
Oh, that was actually quick.
It was, right?
And it looks exactly the same. That's crazy.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yay. I haven't made this in a while, honestly. Yeah, I used to see nourishment as such a physical body thing that like when you nourish your body, everything else is kind of taken care of, and that's like the main thing, because I think at that time that was where my whole focus in my life was physical body. And then I just realized how much of a synergy there has to be between all three aspects of like emotional, physical, and spiritual.
Right.
And for me, I find that as soon as my spiritual nourishment depletes, it really impacts every other part. It not impacts directly, like it doesn't mean that my physical body doesn't feel good. It reduces my desire to do things that are good for my physical body.
Yeah.
So when I'm in a lower consciousness or a lower like spiritual vibration, I then won't care as much about what I'm eating. I won't want to nourish my body in a way that I think of it as an instrument of God's grace or as an instrument of doing good things in my life. And so it may not be like, oh, I feel pain in my body because I'm not doing this spiritual thing. It actually just changes the way that I receive life. And therefore, don't treat my body in the way that I should. Don't have conversations that I should be having. Like I may gossip with you instead of having these beautiful conversations. And in the same way, when I don't eat right, what you eat literally can change the way that your mood is, your energy levels are, which means then if I'm not eating right, if I don't have the physical energy to actually go for a workout or want to run or want to go out and about and socialize with people, then that impacts my emotional health. And so all of those things, I just think there's so many wires that overlap with each one that you have. And look, there may be times in your life where you're like, I really can't prioritize my physical body right now because I'm hustling. And I maybe have time to do a 15-minute walk, but that's still something. And I think there doesn't have to be an equal balance at all times. I think you can really be, I'm doing this much for my physical body, this much for my mental, and this much for my emotional. But just know what the repercussions are of that and how you can maybe balance it out in 6 months' time or in 7 months' time, whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think when I had my episode with Sahil Bloom, he said the same thing. He said that things exist on a dimmer switch rather than like turning something off. Yeah. So like, maybe this season when you're hustling, you turn down the dimmer switch of your physical body when like training or something, right? Yeah. On the idea of balance as well, I'm curious about what you think, right? Because I personally believe that balance doesn't exist like in the early stages anyway. There has to be an imbalance to later then create balance. Have you found the same thing with like work and life and everything in general?
Balance in what? You mean in...
So balancing all areas of your life. So you want to have a social life, you want to have a good career, you want to have your physical health and mental health and whatever else it is.
So equal balance in all of them?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because a lot of people strive for balance. Like they want balance. That's what they're optimizing for. But I think that's there's a big trade-off. Like if you want to actually achieve something.
I think it depends what your goal is at the time. So like there can be a balance, but that balance is proportionate to what your goal is. So if your goal is to build a business, if your goal is to build $1 million business this year, you probably aren't going to see your friends Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I know you probably can't go out and drink on a Friday night and a Saturday night. And during the weekdays, you're probably going to have to be non-existent to them. And so if that's your dream, then that balance is right for that dream. But like if your dream is, I want to create a family and I actually want to find a partner, then you should be going out on, like the balance will be, I'm going out on dates and I'm socializing as much as I possibly can to find my partner. And I'm doing all the right things for my health to be able to have a baby. And so then the balance is right for that goal. And so, no, I don't think there's like an equal balance of anything. I think it's what is the balance that's right for the goal I'm trying to achieve.
So
rather than like, let's just have balance. But like, what does that mean?
Exactly,
like, by the way, for me, having an equal balance of everything, I don't think I would actually thrive in that environment.
Neither,
So it's what balance are you thriving in? It's like in Ayurveda, like nothing is the same for each person, whether it's what you're eating, whether it's your bodily constitution. And so in the same way, balance for each person has to be an individual decision and an individual formula.
So it's identifying like what season you're in basically as well. Right? No, that's powerful. We're on the note of balance, but more so actually going back to like the energy that you create for the, 3-part of yourself, the mind, body, spirit. Your book is called Joyful, obviously. And when you said it in your book, when you cook, the energy or the intention that you're cooking with goes into the food. But what about the times when you're not like really feeling that? How do you kind of navigate that?
When you're not feeling like being nice
Joyful.
to food. I don't think it has to be that you're feeling outwardly joyful at all moments in time. I think it's really difficult to feel that way constantly for anyone. And I think joy is a fleeting emotion, but I think contentment is something that you can actually feel at all times, even when things are turbulent. There's like primary emotions, which is like sad, happy, angry, whatever those emotions are. And then there's the underlying of that, where you can still feel the ebbs and flows of the temporary emotions, but you have an underlying current of gratitude, empathy, understanding for others, and allowing that to be the constant. And how do you build that? Because the turbulent emotions are part of human life. You can't ever sit there and see someone crying their eyes out and not feel sad for them. Like, that's impossible. Or you can't have someone passing away in your life and feel like, oh, it's fine, it's just, part and parcel of how things go, no matter how spiritual you are. And so I think, of course, there are times where I'm literally like, I cry my eyes out a lot. To be honest, I have a weekly cry. I'm not going to lie.
It's your podcast.
It's my podcast. That's why I called it that, because I do I'm extremely emotional. I go through ebbs and flow of emotions a lot. But each emotion I can tie back to gratitude and empathy and tolerance. And if I focus on those underlying emotions and qualities and how to build those, then those emotions become easier to handle. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
I've never actually had it put that way.
I actually haven't said it in that way, so it just came to me.
So you said you spoke on a panel, right? And more so about your business side. I think that's not a side that people really hear about.
I know. Don't talk about much.
But I think they should hear that, because there's a lot to you, obviously. So being a newbie, let's say, or like, would you consider yourself a newbie in business?
You know what? I probably would, but people probably wouldn't say I am, because I've been doing it for a long time.
You've been doing it a long while, yeah. But what kind of lessons have you learned specifically from business that you didn't expect going into it?
That you don't have to be like a typical CEO girl boss vibe when you're running a business,
right?
And that it's okay to not want to be like, I love the creative part of what I do.
Yeah.
Like, I have obviously a tea company, and in that, from everything from the visuals to what goes into the drinks to making sure that there's the right amount and quantities of the adaptogens that I want in that drink, and basically everything that I know that I have a passion for and I am an expert in and can actually contribute in a positive way.
Yeah.
I'm happy that being my skill set. When I decided, I was like, should I actually be like taking on a CEO role in this company? I was like, is my energy better spent trying to master becoming a CEO?
Yeah.
Or is my energy better spent on the quality of this drink, what's actually going to help it sell, and the parts that I can do? And so luckily, obviously, I'm grateful that I had a team that I could hire to do those things. Should I learn about those things? I did learn about them. I did think, if I had to do this, would I be able to do it?
Yeah.
But I think playing to your strengths and not trying to be someone that doesn't fit necessarily into your personality or the things that you'd enjoy doing every single day is really important, and being realistic about it.
Yeah.
So when I go on panels and there's CEOs and people who are actually doing those things, I just share what I know from the part of the business that I am part of, versus trying to sit in a seat that's not actually built for me and that I haven't earned.
I think that's really powerful, because a lot of founders, or first-time founders especially, they want to play the role, but they don't understand that sometimes it's not to their strength, and they don't identify their actual strengths. Like for me as well, I'm the same. I don't really like the more analytical side of business.
Yeah.
I have to do it. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
But like, I thrive more on the creative side, like things like this, right? So yeah, I think that's powerful that you've transcended that kind of, I think it's a bit of an ego trap, actually.
I think it is too. And I'll be honest though, when it comes to content creation, I started off doing everything myself, from editing to filming to, working with every single person that I needed to make what I needed to get done. And that is a beautiful place to be in. Whether I didn't have the money opportunity to even do that if I wanted to outsource it to anyone.
Yeah.
But I think that is important. There's one thing about being able to outsource it and having the means and the ability to do that. But had I not done all of this, I would have been taken for a ride most of the time, because I now know if I need to do it, I can, but also I know what to expect from people, because I'm like, oh, but I've done all of this by myself. So I know what to expect from if I have a social media manager. I know what to expect if I have a videographer or an editor. And so I think there's one thing about leaning into your strengths, but also knowing every part of your business, because if you own something, you need to know how to create every part of it, or at least have an understanding of it.
Yeah, I think it's true because most people, like you said, get taken for a ride. I mean, I know I did, like in the early days when I was hiring out the stuff that I didn't actually want to learn.
Totally.
And yeah.
You just feel more empowered that way. And then you're constantly in, it's better to be in the know about something rather than giving your power. I always see it as giving my power away. I'm like, what parts of my life am I comfortable giving my power away in? And what parts of my life am I not comfortable doing that?
Wow.
And I think you can't keep all your power because there's a balance between growth and keeping your power. But I think in certain areas you have to be able to give it away, but still have an eye on it. Do you want to blend this now?
Let's do it. Mint leaves?
Oh, yeah.
When you create, though, when you're creating, whether it's food, whether it's, is that enough?
Yeah, it's plenty. That's more than enough.
When you're creating food, creating content, starting a business, who are you creating for? Like,
that's a really good question. And if I'm completely honest, sometimes it's for brands that I'm working for. And sometimes I get lost in creating for the algorithm.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't make me happy. And then I come back to myself. And so I feel like there's a big cycle that I go through of, to put out free content, I do have to work with brands to be able to pay for it, which a lot of people also don't see how much money goes into creating content too. And so, and I do enjoy working with brands as well. I think there are some really great ones out there. But I have to say that whenever I end up going back to, there's always a point, I go through these ebbs and flows throughout the year where I'm like, oh my God, I don't even enjoy making content anymore. And then I realize why it is. It's because I'm not making stuff that actually makes me feel like I'm contributing. And so what I've learned is I have to now I have a good balance of like, this is the stuff I think I should be doing. This is the stuff I want to do. And this is the stuff that's purely to give out to people, as whether it does well or not, I don't care. And having that balance has been really important for my ability to keep creating and not feeling like I'm just on this wheel.
Yeah, I think I was lucky very early on to learn to just create for an audience of one, which is obviously yourself, right? Because otherwise you get trapped by your audience expectations. Like if something takes off you, say, then people who follow you from that are expecting more similar content to that. And that thing that took off might not be what you actually wanted to create.
But I do think it's for, I totally used to be like that, where I was like, I think it has to be for me. When you think about it, you're creating so an audience sees it. And so it has to be, it's also, someone, I don't know who said this to me, it might have been Jay, and he was like, it's all good and well if you want to create content for you, and that's fine. But actually, when you think about service, if you're doing it as a point of serving others, then there has to be consideration of other people too.
That is true, yeah.
And so I think sometimes we're like, oh, create content for yourself. And I'm saying this from a personal experience where I used to feel that way. And then I'm like, no, but that's not service then. That's still selfish service. So how can I create a balance of serving what my needs are, but at the same time, if I'm trying to create a community, I can't create for myself while trying to create a community.
This is very true. Yeah.
And so I think that's why there has to be this balance of, I am creating for myself, but also I am going to do what the people in the community want me to do too, because without community, it's difficult creating without having someone to receive it.
Yeah, great point. That's true. But then when it comes to, actually ties in perfectly with detachment, right? From business, from results, from how many people have seen your stuff and whatnot. How do you sort of balance that? Because sometimes, well, not balance, probably a wrong word, but how do you navigate that?
Yeah. I honestly still find it really difficult. Like when things that I really want to do, I'll give you an example. The content I love making the most is food content. It is like, if I would make food content all day, every day if I could. But my audience tend to prefer health hacks, wellness, skincare, hair care, spiritual conversations. And so, yes, I'm sure I would find the audience that would want to watch food all day. And so I think there has to be this feeling of, I've detached from when I do food content, I'm like, okay, you know what, I know this is for me.
Right.
And so whether it does well or doesn't do well, I kind of have to be okay with the because the information is out there for me to know what they're going to like. If I'm choosing to put things out that I know I'm going to do as well, but it makes me happy creating it, then I have to also know that, fine, it probably won't go viral. It probably won't get me growth in that way, but it'll probably get me growth in my way. But it's really hard to detach from it, especially when the whole world is based around result in some way.
It
is.
I think I just heard Jordan Peterson talk about this, that good is directly tied to goal. You can't have good without a goal. And I think it's true. I think because I try to operate from detachment, obviously with everything I do, once I put it out there, or even in my old businesses, I'd never kind of set an expectation, because obviously expectation is the mother of all disappointment and whatnot. But then on some level, you do have to have like a North Star, something that you're aiming towards. So it's like finding that middle ground is tough.
And I think it's more detachment. I think the detachment that's being spoken about is detachment from your own worth. But if you have a business goal, like let's say you are trying to grow your following.
Yeah.
If you are trying to do that, then of course goals come with expectations, and they do come with attachment because you care about something.
Yeah.
When you care about something, there's attachment to something. And so when you have a goal, you can be attached to it to get growth in a specific area, but as long as that attachment isn't linked to you. So it's like, okay, I know I want a really good cry to hit, I don't know, what is that? Like, let's say I'm like, okay, I tell my team I want to hit 100K followers by this point of time, but also I want to have an engaged community. I want to have really good feedback. I want this, and this. I have these goals.
Yeah.
For me, that goal is linked to my business. It's not linked to them liking me. I'm not seeing it as a direct hit if they say they don't like a really good cry, or what I'm speaking about as me being a bad person, or that they think I'm not good at what I do.
Yeah.
So I think there's attachment to your goals, but that attachment not being an attachment to who you are and the worth that you have.
Yeah, detaching your self-worth from your productivity even.
Yeah.
Or from your results. Yeah, absolutely. I think in business as well, that's very hard to do because they're both really interlinked.
Yeah.
Like, that's the life cycle.
You take it personally.
Yeah, everything, literally. I kind of think that serves me sometimes though.
Definitely.
Because it depends what kind of mindset or frame you operate from. Like, I don't know if you've seen The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's documentary.
Yeah, that was so good.
Like, I think I more lean towards that, where it's like, okay, yeah, if something negative happens, then I can like spin that into something, like into fuel in a way. But yeah, that's just like my frame of operation.
No, and I think that's and again, I think it's such a personal way of dealing with things.
All right, let's eat. This looks really good. It looks exactly the same as the book, which is crazy. And that mine never seems to come out that way, but I don't know why. I wanted to talk more about the Ayurvedic and holistic well-being because that's what you're all about pretty much. But firstly, starting with intentionally consuming things, right? So obviously we're intentionally consuming this, but how are you choosing, like, aside from your physical diet, what are you choosing to consume, like, mentally as well? And how do you filter that?
Yeah, I have done that in so many different ways because I noticed how much different things were affecting me. So the first thing I remember doing it with was what I was watching. And so I remember when I made a decision to go to the temple that was close by when I started my meditation practice, I decided that every morning I wanted to go there for the 4:30 prayers and meditate there with the monks till like before work. And what I noticed was the moment I got to my front door, because obviously it was dark outside, I got to my front door to leave the house and I was so scared to leave because of all the thoughts that were coming into my mind from movies of like when you walk out of your door at night, as a woman, like what could happen to you? And so I stopped watching scary movies, things that created like high anxiety in me and things that just had too much like stimulation that was unnecessary. And so literally within 3 months of doing that, my anxiety levels were so much lower because of that. Getting out of the door wasn't an issue. My mind wasn't thinking of the craziest things that could possibly happen based on what I'd seen in movies. So when I did that and I noticed what an impact it had, I thought about all the other things. And so really it's every single thing that you let into your senses. So from what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting, smelling, what you're smelling, like every single thing, curating that. And look, you can't curate it completely. But you can balance it. So I know that if 3 times a week I'm going to a loud, noisy nightclub and staying out late, I also know that in the morning my meditation is going to be thinking of the loud, noisy music I was listening to the night before. And it really does. There's one thing about how it affects you physically and mentally, but there's definitely an energetic frequency thing that happens when you enter specific environments. And look, there's such a difference when you walk into a room full of people meditating to if you're walking into a club of people intoxicated and whatever. And so I started noticing the energetic differences between locations that I was going to and filtering it based on what was my thought the next day. Like I wake up in the morning, am I thinking of the thing I want to be thinking of, which is like God and goodness? Or am I waking up thinking of like the song I heard about arses last night, you know? So I think it's like really...
What song was that?
I don't know, probably something. But yeah, so I think I started noticing what are the thoughts in between the things I'm doing.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And based on the thoughts that were in between the things that I was doing, where have those thoughts come from? Was it from Love Island that I was watching last night? Was it from the thing the monk said yesterday morning when I was listening to it? Is it from a conversation I had with a friend? Because that's allowing things into my ear. Like, what are all those things and how is it affecting those thoughts in between?
That's really powerful because I have a similar process of finding your triggers, right? Basically, there's a process of going through and kind of backtracking through your emotions or like how you were thinking and then finding the trigger points of what actually initiated that sequence of thoughts. And once you find the triggers, then it's easier to recognize the next time.
Right.
Because like if you find your patterns, then then you can change them.
Totally.
Yeah, and like you said with the frequency thing, I think we are like programmable by nature, and we can't. Everyone says actually you should transcend your programming, but I don't actually believe that. I'm curious to get your thoughts. I think you could choose your programming, but you can't really transcend it.
I don't know whether that's unless you're like the most enlightened human being. I just don't think that we are wired to not be programmed. I think we are creatures of habit. I think we're creatures of assimilation into like everything around us does affect our external environment, does affect our internal environment, even if it's the weather. Like there's so much science that says that, people's mood, people's energy levels, so many things are affected just by the weather changing. So if it's just by the weather changing, imagine how much is changed by if I walk into a room and energetically you're feeling low or you're angry, I'm going to feel that straight away, whether I'm aware of it or not. I've become a lot more aware of those things, even when it comes to people on my team or the people I'm around all the time. It's like, if I'm at the end of the day feeling energetically drained, not physically, but energetically, why am I not around people that, yes, of course, they're going to take from me, but I also should be getting nourishment back in some way.
Yeah.
And if I'm coming into the office at level 100 and I'm trying to give as much energy as I possibly can, and someone's at 20, I'm going down to a 50.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much I can keep to this frequency if I'm not being given that at the same time.
Right.
And so maybe I need to look into it more or experience it more, or maybe I'm just an amateur in it. But I don't think you can transcend your programming. I think you can elevate it. I think you can change it. I think you can change all your neural pathways and all the habits and stuff that you do. But I don't know whether the point is to transcend it.
Yeah, I don't think we are actually supposed to transcend it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you showed me, I think, not on purpose though, I think it was indirectly, was like this idea of perception, right? You invited me to Jay's show that he did live.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, there was it was a whole new experience for me because obviously I'm watching as a creator as well, not just as an audience member or a fan, but also as a creator. And this whole thing of like perception is reality. And what I observed obviously from that night was one, how you are interacting with people and how people perceive you versus how you perceive them, right? Because you don't particularly know them, but they know you because you've been on their phone or their YouTube video or whatever. How have you like kind of been navigating that recently? Because you gave me a gem, which I'll tell you afterwards.
I think the more comfortable I feel in my own skin, the more comfortable I feel I am with what I'm doing. And that comes with alignment of like words, thoughts, and actions being in alignment. As much as I can do that, the more I'm okay being seen, if that makes sense, in whatever way I'm seen as. And so I used to find it really difficult because I'm actually naturally, when I meet people for the first time, or if I'm more in a crowded environment, I'm a social introvert, but one-on-one, I'm like extremely extroverted. And so when I would be surrounded by people, I would find it really difficult to give the energy that they see me having. That is my natural way to be. And then I realized I had to learn to like recycle that.
That was a gem.
Is that the point?
Yeah, that was a gem.
I think about it all the time because I'm like, this person has poured into me so much as part of being part of the community. I want them to have that exact experience, and it's unfair for me to have my insecurities, my walls up, when all I've been asking of them is to have a connection with me. And so what I've learned to do is literally like a battery, absorb their energy of excitement and pour it back into them in that moment. Even if I struggle with it at the time, it's like a habit that I've had to create because I think they really deserve it. And I think it's unfair to have the expectation of someone to follow what you do and be part of your community and maybe buy the things that you're sharing. And then when you meet them in person, you're like, sorry, who are you? Like, that's so disrespectful. And so,
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's there's this idea of I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called a panopticon.
No.
So I spoke about it in a previous episode, right? But it's like this way a prison is built, and the guard is in the central tower, and he shines the light around to all the prisoners. But prisoners can't see when the light is being shined, so it feels like they're always being watched.
Right.
Do you feel that way, or like when But to be honest, you just answered it. If you're acting in alignment in private the same way as you act in public, then you're not really scared of the light being on you.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I definitely feel that way, but I also think that's why I find it so important to interact with people beyond, oh, hey, you want to take a picture? Yeah, let's take a picture. I really, this is for myself, not even for them, to have a point of interaction, not just me voicing myself, to have moments where I can actually connect with people, because otherwise you do end up either feeling like you're the queen of the castle or the light guard, or what was it, light guard?
Prisoner
guard, or you end up feeling so disconnected that you've created a personality that isn't even you. And so actually I prefer those moments where I'm able to meet people and spend time with them and create community, so it doesn't feel like I'm so far removed for myself, for my own ego too.
Right.
It's so much better that way, because then also breaking that narrative, because some people have a completely different narrative of who you are. They're receiving it so differently.
100%.
And so an example would be, if people are used to seeing me as someone who meditates, they struggle if I go to a place like Aura, which is like...
I'm going to bleep the name.
They struggle if I go to a place which is, a club or if they see me at like a Burna Boy concert, they're like, what? It's so different for them to like, I've experienced this version of this person, but then does that mean this version was a lie and they're actually this person? So what I try to do is I try to literally be really open about all the things that I do, but that also confuses people. So if I'm got a, I don't know, I keep saying Burna Boy because I really want to go to his concert again. But if I put up a Burna Boy song behind something, they're like, I wouldn't even thought you listened to that type of music. I'm like, I grew up listening to that music.
Right.
But for them, it's like, oh, but I literally just heard your meditation a week ago, and they've created, so from one part of my life that they see, they will create a whole narrative of who I am.
Yeah.
And so that sometimes is fractured when they experience a different version of me, or another part of me. I wouldn't say different version, another part of me that was unexpected.
Yeah.
And so I think the best way, and that's what I see happen with a lot of people who obviously have like way more people that are invested in their life than me, where they see someone be this and they're like, oh, I thought that this is the narrative I've created of them. And then they see them do something else in the public where they're like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting of them. Now they're cancelled. And so I think it's sharing, even if it's creating, I actually prefer it, because then it breaks down any kind of like awe that's created of you.
Yeah. That's why I think being trapped in a box, or trying not to put yourself in a box, like, okay, you're a spiritual person, but not being in the spiritual box, or you're the business guy, not being in the business box at the same time. You can be in everything, right?
I think for a lot of women also it's physical appearance. Like, I remember my friend, actually know her, she literally was like to me, I can't believe you just like wake up and you go straight on Instagram. Like, you literally don't put makeup on, you don't do anything. Like, you literally show up sometimes really rough. And I'm like,
really rough.
Really rough, yeah. And I was thinking about that, because at the time I was like, I'm a bit offended. But then I realized I actually wasn't offended, because I have consciously had to do that and not put filters when I've got like a spot on my face, and not do all those things, because I'd rather someone see me in person and be like, oh my gosh, she's way prettier in person, or way nicer in person than she is online, than have the opposite experience. And when you create this image of who you are online, it becomes so consuming of like, oh my gosh, I have to look like this, I have to act like this, I have to be this person, and then you forget who you actually are, or who to be when you actually meet people, which creates so much social anxiety. So then you can't even be the person you want to be, because you're thinking about how are they perceiving me, and am I that person, versus just being.
Yes, like a caricature you create of yourself, and then you have to
and then you have to think, am I acting in that way that they're perceiving? Whereas if you're just being online and you're just being in person, then you don't have to have that, then there's less barriers in between you and that person of like the fake version of you, or the person you think they want to receive.
Another gem you gave me, I don't think you realized it though when you said it, because you said it as a passing comment, right? It was like, when I was first getting started online and stuff, I think you said, oh, by the way, now that you're choosing to like put yourself out there, you can't control the perception that you're going to have, or like other people are going to have of you.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've got their own set of filters and, and then we just carried on whatever we were doing, playing or something. And I thought that was like crazy powerful because if you're in business, you try to control everything.
Yeah.
And me going from there to that, I'm trying to control perception, but it only finally hit like a year ago, I think, where I let go of the fear of being seen or whatever, and also perception.
Yeah, I used to think it was so unfair when I'd read a comment. I'd be like, but they don't understand what I'm saying, or they've misunderstood who I am, or why do they not think I'm a nice person? Because you always want everyone to think you're a nice person.
Yeah.
And then I remember every time I was complaining, and I was like, oh yeah, if you were, I think what I might have said is, if you're choosing to be seen, you can't choose how people see you.
That's right. Yeah.
And it is, because if you don't want to be seen, just don't be seen. But at the end of the day, if you're choosing to be in someone's vision and you're choosing to put yourself out there in that way, there's no way you can control. You can't control how your own family see you. How are you going to control how 1 million, 2 million, whatever, however many people see you? It's just impossible because they are received. You can tell two people the exact same thing. Someone can tell me and you the exact same thing. I have received in a completely different way to the way you have, based on my insecurities, based on what I've experienced, based on how I'm choosing to see the world. And there's too many filters to even try and fix all of them.
Right.
Not even fix, to try and help them see how you want them to see you.
Then do you think there are any like objective truths that you don't like that beat all filters?
Authenticity. Like, and by the way, what I mean by that is every time I'm around Radhi Swami, who's one of my spiritual teachers, I notice how, and it comes back to this idea of people receiving based on where they're at in life.
Yeah.
Some people will meet him and he's very present, but also will not waste words. So he will sit there and he'll just be like, and he'll look at you in the eye and he'll be like, and for a lot of people, they do not want to be seen in that way.
Yeah.
They are so uncomfortable by his comfort of just being there. Like, he's so present and he's so comfortable in his own skin and so comfortable in himself and comfortable soul to soul that he's not even seeing what else is happening. Right. But for that person, if they're not ready to be seen like that, they are like, oh, that was so uncomfortable, so intense. And other people are like, I've never been seen that way and it was amazing. Wow. And so you can show up as you and someone will absolutely hate you based on what they like and dislike, and someone will absolutely love you. Yeah. And that's even at a spiritual teacher level who is such a beautiful embodiment of what a human should be like. And even then people's filters will be like, oh, I need to keep that at a distance because I'm not ready for it.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're showing up as the person you want to be, then the way people receive you, I get most angry at myself when I don't show up in the way I want to.
Right, okay.
Then I'm actually even sadder because I'm like, not only have I not shown up as myself, they also hate me. So now both of us are losing.
Yeah, there's this really interesting thing I read, right, from Plato, who's like one of the old philosophers. He said 200 years before this event actually happened, that if the perfect man was to come into the world, then he would be crucified. And that was like 170 AD or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I think I've learned from that, you can't try and satisfy people in a world where someone like that would be crucified.
Exactly.
Jesus is crucified, literally.
No way.
So yeah, I got over the fear of, I guess, perception. And the more I did it as well, I think the more reps that I did, I think uncovers everything that you need to know.
And so many lessons to be learned from great people like Jesus, where even his friends betrayed him. Like, there's so many, actually learning from people who have been exemplary in those situations. I think that can really help. And obviously none of us are Jesus out here, but learning from people who you see receiving and carrying the discomfort of being criticized and judged gracefully is like such a beautiful way to remind yourself that it can be done.
Right.
And so following that rather than the people that you're seeing actually not handling it that great, which is what we usually see because it's difficult to receive. But finding those people where you're like, oh, actually, these people took it with so much grace. Like, they literally have still continued doing what they're supposed to be doing, still stayed in their power, still stayed in their truth, still carried on with their purpose, even when they were going to be crucified. Like, it's insane to think about.
Yeah.
And then it puts everything else into perspective. You're like, oh, okay, they don't like my hair. Cool.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of, obviously, none of us are Jesus, but attaining, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, whatever you want to call it. The copy of the Gita that you gave me was by far one of the best I've read.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons that you think have stuck out for you? I've got so many that just come to mind, and it's one of them books that you open at a random page.
Every day something different.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Honestly, one of the biggest things that was a change in perspective, maybe not a greatest lesson, but helped me navigate the world better, was thinking about the fact that my soul has lived so many lifetimes. And the reason is because I think, a lot of people would say, oh, like YOLO, you only live once. And it's like, okay, cool, let's do everything that you possibly want to do. But actually what I really appreciate is the idea that my soul has already been through so much.
Yeah.
And actually so many of the things that I am right now are actually a result of things that have been
100%.
That I don't understand.
Yeah.
And so instead of trying to understand every single thing about why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I get scared of these things, why am I, you can really overanalyze so much of your life, but this is just such a snapshot. And so one, it can give perspective on the sense of like, let's not take things too seriously, but also let's stop trying to overanalyze things that don't need to be analyzed and that you're not going to figure out. You're not going to be able to figure out everything. And some of that does come from past things that you've been through that you just don't know and you just don't even realize or remember. And also thinking about the fact that we are like one tiny being, not even in one universe. There are so many universes out there and so many things that are unknown to us. And so another thing that it's helped me think of is, why would I not think this is possible?
Right.
Because like there's so many things that we don't even know in this world that are possible that we don't see with our eyes.
Yeah.
Then I believe everything is, like for me, everything is possible.
Yeah, agreed.
And that, I think when you think it's just you, there's very limited as possible because all we know is us as our physical body are the things that we see. You don't expect anything else to be real except for the things that you can physically touch. But as soon as you think it's like you plus God, you plus the universe, you plus something that is unlimited, you feel like there's so much more that's possible.
So true.
So you feel a lot less limited in your abilities because you're like, oh, well, with God's grace, I can do so much more.
Yeah, I like to think of it as co-creation, basically.
Co-creation, yeah, exactly.
But it's just most people...
It's a group project.
Yeah, pretty much. The one person takes all the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I think like when I just made that switch as well, that it's all co-creation, I think it gave me a lot more, I guess, power to draw on for myself.
And knowing what you have to do to be worthy of that power. And what does that mean? It's like if someone's giving you a baby, you need to have the prep done. You need to know how you're going to look after that baby. You need to be willing to put in the time, the energy, and the effort to look after that child. So in the same way, it's like if I'm going to be giving you power, I want to see that you've done the work before I even give it to you.
Right.
And so many people sit there waiting for the power to be given to them or like waiting for that thing to happen. But actually doing the prep work beforehand to show, actually, I'm consistently showing you I can receive and I am worthy of this. It's like when you want a promotion at work. Then just give it to you before you've shown you can do it. And so I think it's consistency in integrity and in your actions and in your words to show, oh, actually, now I'm worthy of this power. And then it's given to you.
Yeah, so true. It's like when people talk about opportunity waiting to arrive for them.
Yeah.
It never actually misses you. You just choose when that opportunity arrives according to the prep that you've done or the frequency that you're at, whatever you want to call it, right? One of the ones that stuck out for me was when Krishna said that you're only entitled to the labor, never to the fruits, right? And that made me think about, okay, if I'm only entitled to the labor, then what am I doing it for? Like, obviously, the mastery of self, spiritual progression, physical progression, but then also doing it in service of something higher than you.
Yeah.
And then I remember you made a post recently, or like a while ago, like when you were in service of, I think, Radhanath Swami, it made you realize sometimes how many kind of selfish thoughts that you have.
Yeah.
So how often are you trying to bring that back to the forefront of your mind? Because obviously it's hard. Like you think about yourself all the time.
Yeah.
As in not you, as in I do.
No, I do too.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever get rid of those thoughts because we're still the physical body. You can't pretend like we're not. But I do think
maybe not get rid of, but like become aware of.
Or become aware of it.
Yeah.
By being present. Like it's such a simplified answer, but I've realized the only way you can actually become aware of anything is by being with it. And so presence, a lot of people don't realize that presence is the answer to so much, and the ability to keep coming back to this moment and making sure that you are tuned and locked in is how you have deeper connections, is how you realize what's happening, not just in your mental state, but in your physical body. The amount of people I meet where when I take them either through like a process of connecting with their body, where I do this like breath work thing, And I'm like, okay, so breathe into your shoulder. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had this pain. Like that single moment of breath and presence helps them to even realize where they've had pain in their body for years or months or days where they haven't even noticed,
right,
because of such lack of presence. And so I actually think loneliness comes from lack of presence. The ability to not concentrate or feel like they've got connection to someone comes from lack of presence. Selfish thoughts come from lack of presence, because actually if you're present in the world, there are so many people to care about.
Yeah.
It's unreal. There are so many things to be doing beyond repeated thoughts of what I should have and what I should be doing and what's been done that's wrong to me. So if you're actually present in this world and you're observing, there's so much more interesting than what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
If you allow there to be.
That's the thing, if you allow it. And again, comes back to that, it's a choice, right? Like every synchronicity that I experience, whether it's the flamingos or like the numbers that I see or whatever you want to call it, it's always because I've been training like hyper awareness.
Yeah.
And then it's not that I'm seeing things that other people aren't, as in that aren't there.
No.
It's just that, I'm trying to tune myself to see them.
Yeah.
In a way.
When you first told me about this flamingo thing, I'm not joking. Now, every time I see a flamingo, I send it to you.
Yeah, it's so
But
funny.
what that shows is when you become attuned to something or you have a connection of something to someone, even that in itself makes you more present. And so imagine you were able to teach yourself to do that with different things. So like for flowers, for example, every time I see a flower and I go closer, I'm like, this is one of the most magical things that have ever existed in the world, because the intricacies of a flower is insane.
Yeah.
But, or I could look at it and be like, that's a cute flower. But like for me, it's like, wow, the world is phenomenal every time I look at a flower.
Right.
But that's because I've trained my mind to think that. Every time I see the sun, I'm like, oh my gosh, you literally give me energy, give life to every single thing on this earth. Thank you so much. I am just constantly in gratitude to the sun. So all that to say, through different prayers I've read as well, it's helped me to feel so much gratitude for everyday ordinary things.
Right.
So actually life can never be boring if you choose to live that way. As soon as I change that mindset, whenever people say they're bored, I'm like, what do you mean you're bored?
Yeah.
And that, to me, 10 years ago, I would have been like, of course, like I'm bored all the time. What do you mean? I want to have stimulation all the time. Of course, boredom exists. But actually, boredom exists when you choose not to turn ordinary into something extraordinary, which you have the ability to do every day.
Wow.
And it's simply by thinking, oh, wow, this is actually incredible. That fireplace, oh my gosh, I wonder how old it is. And the artwork on there, I wonder who drew it. So curiosity is actually something that kills boredom.
Wow.
And kills judgment and kills everything. And
that's a really interesting paradigm, because the way I think of it is the opposite of stimulation is boredom. But maybe it's not boredom.
I don't think it is boredom.
Yeah, because I always say...
I would have thought the same, yeah.
Yeah. And I would say boredom births curiosity, but I guess maybe not. In the way that you explained it, I think I haven't actually heard it that way. Yeah, in those moments, I find them like... When people ask me for advice on how to figure out their next steps, you can never tell them, obviously, but you can tell them to carve out time for solitude or silence.
Totally.
What role is that?
Which again is presence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you're on direct transmission from the universe or from God, then it's just like be alone in nature.
Yeah.
And if you look at every great yogi or sage or prophet, they all had this period of isolation.
But that's also because, like, okay, let's say we have time. We've had an hour and a half to have this conversation. Had we not had this, I wouldn't have learned this about you. You wouldn't have learned this about me. And so in the same way, we see solitude as, I'm being with myself. But no, you're not. You're tuning in to all the things that are unheard through the noise that's being created. So this is like, thank you.
Okay. Write that down.
But yeah, I just think that connection is with the universe, with nature, with God, or whoever you want to connect to, that's beyond what you see, is required in solitude, because the noise is always present. So the only time you can really connect to that is when you're in a moment of peace. And then that can filter into everything. Then as soon as you start seeing it in all the little things, every moment can feel like little moments of magic or little moments of connection.
Then how do you focus, like when you're in that kind of state?
Well, it depends what focus means, because...
Centralized energy into one thing.
But that all feeds that, in my opinion. Like me being in awe of a flower helps fuel my creativity.
Yeah.
Because where would I get creativity comes from everything that you receive. I actually noticed lack of presence for me is when I'm least creative in the kitchen, least creative in my content, because I'm not receiving anything.
Yeah.
I'm not allowing anything to actually impact me. And so in that case, then I am bored because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I'm creating the same thing over and over again. Got no new ideas, got nothing new to give out to people. Why? Because I'm not observing or receiving anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And there's ways to create like pockets of time to hear those things, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I've been trying, I think it was actually you that said it, or maybe you've mentioned it, is like conscious eating or conscious. I think you said it at dinner once. Like, just if you're there, then like no screens, no phone. Literally, just if you're there with people, then speak to the people. Or if it's alone, then just kind of just eat. And it feels really strange at first, obviously, because it's like there's this meme online. It's like you've been sentenced to a meal without YouTube.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the more you do it,
the more you notice, the more you'll be like, oh my gosh, what's this flavor? Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Oh, my body doesn't feel good when I'm eating that. Oh my gosh, I feel so energized after eating that. I think you become a lot more efficient when you do moments like that. And you become a lot more able because you start to notice things that you wouldn't have normally noticed that could actually be affecting you in a negative way.
And there's a paradox because you think you're being efficient by watching the YouTube video, because it's not like any YouTube video, it's like you're learning something, right?
Totally.
But then you're not fully in either thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. When it comes to, obviously, you're trained in Ayurveda and yoga and all of these different areas. When it comes to like developing a routine or creating a routine, like I've done 1,001 routines, morning routines, But then I've obviously, through experimenting, filtered the best thing for me.
Yeah.
How would you suggest to do it? But obviously using your knowledge of Ayurveda or yoga or the things that you're an expert in.
Of creating a routine?
Yeah, routine or like daily habits for like the most efficiency and presence throughout the day as well.
I think you have to simplify and think, okay, in the morning I'm going to do something for my mind, something for my body, something for my heart. Like it can start as simple as that. In the morning I'm going to do a 15-minute workout because that's all the time I've got. That's for my physical body. For my mind, I'm going to journal, go outside, take some deep breaths. And then for my heart, or spirit, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to listen to something that feels meaningful that's going to carry me throughout the day, or I'm going to read a chapter of something or a few pages that stimulates a quality or an emotion that I want to feel and pass out to somebody else.
Right.
And so I feel like if you simplify in those three ways, and then you can mimic that even at night then. And then it's like, okay, what can I do now to bring myself back to my physical body? And that might be, one of my favorite things is Abhyanga. It's like a self-body massage with oil, and you can do it just on your feet. You can do it on your hands. But one, the feeling of touch ends up being so grounding for your body. And two, and it can be any kind of self-care routine that you want to do. Like it could be a skincare routine. It could be anything that brings you back to your body and helps you to reconnect your mind to your body. Breath is usually that. It's like when I did my yoga teacher training, they said, breath is the anchor between your mind and your body, and it helps you to link both. So if you're in a moment of anxiety, lack of presence, use your breath to bring you back. So I use breath a lot throughout the day, but it can be anything physical. And then mental at night could be, there's a really beautiful sleep meditation if someone finds it really difficult to sleep, but also is a great way to connect back to your body. And it's yoga nidra. And essentially it is a practice of, most of the time what they do is they go through from head to toe. You take a breath into each part of your body. And it really helps you to see where you're holding tension, where you're stressed out, where you're holding a lot of emotion in your body. It really helps you to figure that out, but also brings presence back into your body. And then a little prayer at night. It doesn't have to be like an hour of meditation, like literally a prayer of well-being for other people, a prayer of gratitude for anything that's happened, a prayer of, this is what I want to be tomorrow. My grandma, every single night before she goes to bed, she's like, please in her language, she's like, please let me wake up at this time so I can do my prayers. That's her prayer.
That works though.
It works
when you tell yourself.
It really does work.
Every time. I don't need an alarm.
But she's like, God, please let me wake up because I want to pray at this time in the morning. Please make sure I wake up at this time. And like, what a beautiful thing to be thinking about, the way that you want to connect and start your day the next day, but in the evening. So yeah, just simplify it. Find one thing for each and stick with it for a little bit. And if it doesn't work, try something else.
That's amazing. And then just before we close off, just as a bit of a selfish ask, obviously, just for advice. I've just turned 26, right?
Yeah.
So as a woman who's in her late 40s, 50s, no, I'm joking.
I mean, if I was, that would be amazing.
No, I'm joking. Just if you were my age again, what would you have wanted to know?
I'm in my 30s, by the way, guys. What would I have wanted to know? You know, when people ask this question, sorry, I have to give this answer. I always think like, everything's revealed to you at the right time. So I really struggle with that question sometimes.
Butterfly effect, like not included, basically. So if
what do I wish I had known at 26? Oh, I know. Something similar to what we spoke about earlier, that is, don't worry about not being an expert at something. Like, do something anyway, even if you look dumb, even if you look silly, even if you're not good at it, because the experience is going to give you so much more than the regret of like not doing things in your life because you think you're going to look a certain way. Like, if you can't dance but it makes you happy, dance. If you can't sing but it makes you happy, sing. Like, there's so many things that we don't do based on external validation. And I wish I had done a lot more then that I'm now doing in my 30s, that I was like, oh, why did I not do that? Because it would have made me so happy doing it at the time.
Yeah, no, that's very powerful. Well, I think that's great to close on. Thank you so much for your time and for the conversation, and for the food.
Yeah, it's fine. I just made your meal, you know.
No, eat properly now. But yeah, we can pass the cookbook just so people can go and buy it.
This is my book. Joyful with
Joyful
2 L's.
is out everywhere. It's one of the best sellers on Amazon, in cookbooks everywhere, which is crazy. So
thank you.
Go and buy it. And I don't think I need to tell people to follow you. I think they already know where you are. So
you don't have to either, to be honest.
So it's a pleasure. I'm glad our conversations off camera and on camera are pretty much the same.
Really the same, yeah. So, it's so true.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you. This is wonderful. Appreciate it.
All right.